Hello, this is a quick tutorial to show you what's new in tests with Service Pack 13. So the little bit that's new regarding building tests, if you go to Course Tools and then Test Surveys and Pools, and then we'll just click on Tests. If you have an existing test, you'll be able to see what I'm going to talk about very clearly. I'm just going to edit this test. And so before, whenever you were creating questions, when you're building a test, or even adding questions to an existing test, the new question always went to the bottom of the list and you had to use these arrows to drag them to the desired location. Well, now you can just plug in your new question wherever you want it. So when you mouse over questions, you'll notice this plus sign at the top or bottom. So if I wanted a question above the first question, I just click this one. If I want it in between 1 and 2, I click this one. When you click on the plus sign, you get a list of all the different question types. Just choose the question type you want, and it places it exactly where you want it in the test. Other than that, there's nothing new about building the test, but that is a nice new feature. Alright, but the big news comes in the deploying step of the test. So this test is deployed, so let's look at the test options. Once in a while you'll have students that with documented disabilities that may need more time taking their tests, or they've been out and you want to give them access to the test after the fact. So rather than having to create a adaptive release rule as we did in the past, now all of those options can occur and be set right within the test options. So most of the test options are the same. Open a new window, no, generally you want to answer no to that. Make link available, yes, and of course you can still set dates for when you want the link to the test to be available for students. Multiple attempts, all the same kind of test options that you're used to. But below that, now there's a new test availability exceptions, and this is what I'm talking about is, maybe one student needs longer, or you want to give them more opportunities to take the test. So you're just going to choose the student from the list, and then click submit. And once that student or number of students have been pulled in, your options are multiple attempts, maybe a single attempt, or unlimited attempts. And then you can also set the timer. So currently these students have 2 attempts at this test and they have 10 minutes to take it. Okay, so maybe we want to give them 2 minutes, but we want to give this person 15 minutes to take it. You could also set availability dates, allow them to take it after this date and until this date. Okay, and you could choose forced completion if you wanted to as well. If you determine, oh, this is the wrong student after all, you just click the X. So you want to delete this, yes, and then you could just start over and choose the correct student. Okay. So that's in choosing the student and setting limits for that particular student. Another new option that you can set right in the test options is how students will see the type of feedback and for how long. So for example, after the student submits the test, you might want them to see all of their feedback that's available to them. And then after, if they're all in the same, in the classroom, but when they leave the class, you don't want them to be able to access this anymore, or maybe just the score. So for example, if you have your due date to end at the end of your class, which might be today at noon, you could just say after due date, only show the score and none of the extra feedback. Okay, so your options are for after submission, one-time view, they might get to see all of the feedback on a specific date, after availability end date, and after attempts are graded. Okay, and those are the same on a specific date for when you want all the feedback to stop or to be shown, after the due date, after availability end date, or after attempts are graded. Okay, so you can determine how much feedback you want your students to see and for how long. So those are, you know, instead of having to go back in and edit your test options, you can do that in one swoop. All right, so the rest of the options are pretty much the same. But before I go, I just want to show you what it looks like from the student's point of view. So you'll see right after they submit the test what the feedback looks like, as well as after the due date when we lock down some of the feedback, how that what that looks like in my grades. So one moment and I'll just log in as a student. So I'm in the course now as a test student. I've just finished the test and now I'm in my grades. And so the test was submitted, but there's an exclamation point because there was a short answer question in the test. But I can click on the test and click even though it's not graded, click the exclamation point and I can see my attempt with all the feedback, what was selected and what the correct answer is. And of course I won't have a full score yet because that question wasn't graded, but I can see everything in the test. All right. So as we remember, the test was available until noon and it's 10 to 12 right now. So we'll come back afternoon and then we'll see what kind of feedback I'm still able to get from my grades. So I'm back into the course as a student and I'm viewing my grades again. And this is after the due date. So we had set our test options so that after the due date and time, the student would only be able to see the score. So I go back to the test. It's been graded at this point. I click on the test. Again, I click on the score. But at this time, rather than seeing all my questions and submitted questions and correct answers, etc., all I do get is the score. All right? So that's how those new test options work. Very handy and saves time for the instructor as well. So if you have any questions about this, don't hesitate to contact the TLC. Thank you.